Hi, this is Steve with Happy Ebikes. Let's start off with the tools you'll need to build a happy camper. You need a razor blade, you're gonna need a cutting tool, 2.5 millimeter Allen wrench, 3 millimeter Allen wrench, 4 millimeter Allen wrench, 5 millimeter Allen wrench, a screwdriver, an adjustable wrench, and a 15 millimeter wrench. If you don't have any of these tools at home, it comes supplied in a compact tool kit for your bike. All right, so you just need to use the clippers. First of all, just to clip off the packing tape. After you do that, you can do one of two things. You can just open the top of the box and pull the bike out, but I find that to be very, very difficult. So an easier way to do it is to get your razor blade, cut up, and then cut across, and cut up again. And all you're doing is making a little door so you can just pull the bike out. So now instead of having to pull the bike out from the top, you can just pull the bike out from the front. Then you just kind of take off all the packaging, and then you're gonna be left with this guy. When you have that, you get your clippers, and you start clipping all the zip ties. So what I like to do is just take all the packing material off so I can see the bike. All right, so the next thing you need to do is there's a shipping pin in your hydraulic brakes. You need to pull that out. It ships with the brakes being spread open. Now you need to pull it out because you're gonna stick your rotor up in there. We're ready to put this wheel on. We can set the bike up and just put it on its kickstand. Before you put the wheels on, what you need to do is you need to pull these two brackets out, because when you put the wheel on, the brackets need to go up underneath it. So what you need to do is go counterclockwise on both of these nuts until they come almost all the way off. And once they come towards the edge, there's two washers. Push those towards the nuts, because you want it to be the nuts, the washers, then the bike. So now all you have to do is aim it, make sure the washers are on the outside and the nuts are on the outside. Just grab the stem and then just ease it down. Make sure when you're doing that at the same time, this rotor is gonna go in between the brakes. So you're aiming it onto the axles as well as aiming the rotor into the brake pads. So it's going down right where the rotor is going in the center of the brake pads, then now it's on. So then you can hand tighten these bolts. And after you hand tighten it, you can tighten it with the wrench. So you don't have to go crazy, but give it a nice firm torque. So next, what I like to do is take the rest of the packaging off. And since I already got the wheel on, nice and tight, I'm gonna finish off the fenders. So all you do is, the arm that you pulled out before is a little nut down here. It's a 10 millimeter nut and a 4 millimeter Allen wrench, screw top. And you just match it in there. A number 4 Allen wrench and any adjustable wrench or a 10 millimeter wrench, and just tighten it on there. And repeat for the other side. So next you want to put your handlebars on. So I like to take all the packaging off so you can slide things through. To lift, you pull this lever down, then pull this up. Once you do that, you can unhook it, and it comes up like that. What you need to do is guide this part of the tongue in between the handlebar and the display. So once you get it in there, it locks into the stem. So when it's in the stem area, you can see these little markings, and what you want to do is you want to center these markings. So it's basically centered right now because you can see from here side to side and where the markings are. So you want to center those markings, and at the same time, this is when you can adjust how high or how low you want the tilt of your handlebars. So usually just flush is the way I like to go. Push the front down, and it clicks down, and once it clicks down, it's just like a quick release, and it's gonna lock. And you'll know it's locked by that clicking up. So now your handlebars are on there firmly. And then all you do is move the display up into the upright position. All right, so once you get into this position, the only thing you need to do is you need to plug in the display to the power. So when you put this on, you have to be very careful. You need to make sure that this bottom slot is matching with this female slot. You can actually look at it very carefully and match it up and put it in, or you can kind of do it by feel, by putting it sideways and just kind of turning. And when you turn, you'll feel it click in. And so now you push it all the way down until it doesn't show. But you just gotta make sure it lines up so you don't bend any of the pins. So now we're to the point where I like to make everything on the handlebars comfortable for me to ride. If you like it the position that the brakes are in now, you can just leave it. But if you don't, what you need to do is you need to grab yourself a 4 millimeter Allen wrench, and all you need is loosen one side. You don't have to loosen both sides, just the Allen wrench right here on the top. I like this hand position to be right there where my hand could easily just reach below instead of having to grab above. Everybody's different. Some people like it higher, but most people like it in this position. And then you just give it a little twist and tighten that back up. You want to do the same thing for the other side so that your hands are matching, so it feels the same on both sides. So then you could tighten this one up too. When you get to the starter position, there's an on-off, pedal power up and down button. I like to center it right where I can see it, and it's in a comfortable position for me to go up and down on. And once you do that, you need to get a 2.5 Allen wrench. You can tighten it up, and then it will no longer move. The next thing is this guy right here. It's gonna be a little bit loose, and what I like to do is I like to make it so that when I'm in a comfortable riding position, it's high enough so I can see the dial without having to look over. And it's low enough where it's easy for me to manage the thumb shifting. Once you get the spot that you want, you get a Phillips head screwdriver, hold it where you want, and give it a nice tight twist. The next thing is I like to adjust the throttle position. If you look at the throttle position currently, it's at a low angle, and some people like this, but when you're throttling, now your thumb is coming all the way down here. So I prefer my thumb at full throttle to be at a neutral position. And in order to do that, you get a 3mm Allen wrench, and on the bottom of the throttle, there's a little bolt. So you just counterclockwise and loosen it, and then you can lift up the throttle. And now the throttle's in a position where it's slightly higher, but if I push down at the full throttle mode, my thumb is in a neutral position. Once you get it to the point that you like, you go back in there, turn it right to tighten it, and you're good. So now everything's in position of how you want your bike to be. Last thing left on the handlebars, this display is a little bit loose because that's how it comes from shipping. What I like to do is I like to put the display in a complete upright position. After I do that, I use a 2.5 Allen wrench, and on the very back, you'll see these little screws, and you just tighten them up until they get close and it gets tight. So now it's tight, but you can still tilt this back and forward. So now you're in a great position. Next step is you can unpackage the seat, and sometimes this quick release at the bottom, it's in a perfect position. A lot of times it's not. If it's too loose, all you need to do is, it's just like a normal screw. It's on the left-hand side, start going clockwise until it gets tighter and tighter. And it should be at the point where it's firm to close it. So once you get it to the position that you think it's right, put the seat in, straighten it out, and close, and test it by doing this, by swiveling the seat. And if your seat doesn't move, then you have it tight enough. The last thing are the pedals. Inside this package, there's gonna be 2 pedals, but also you're gonna see this little plug. Don't lose this plug because it goes right here. On the stem, it should be slanted upwards, and it's just a rubber piece that you're just gonna wedge in there. All it is for aesthetics. You don't really need to have it in here, but it makes the bike look better. After that, just go ahead and click the stem shut and put your display back up. So last thing, the pedals. First thing you want to do is identify which pedal goes where. And if you look at the ends of the pedals, one says R and one says left. So R is right and L is left. So I'm going to do the right one first. The bike is currently in a different gear, so you want to make the bike go forward until it's in the right gear. Once it's in the right gear, the free wheel will be flowing freely. Get your 15mm tool, put it on the pedal, and make sure that it is evenly on the crank, nice and flat. You don't want to be crooked. If you're crooked, you'll thread the crank incorrectly. It needs to be flat, and you should be gently going backwards, and it'll start to thread, and you'll start feeling it. And once it does, it's on. All you need to do is follow it around. When you keep spinning, you get to the point where it's at the end. And when it's at the end, put a little pressure on the back tire and give it a nice little crank. So you're gonna do the same thing for the other side. And once it's level, you can slowly start turning it and you'll feel it go on. And now it's on. You can just keep on spinning until it stops. And once it stops, put pressure on the back wheel so it doesn't spin, and then give it a little crank. And there you go. When you inflate your tires, they should be at 30 PSI. They come shipped, the tires are somewhat flat. So here's what you want to do. The nozzle is just barely hanging out, so you want to put the hose on and then pull the nozzle out a little bit. So that when it's filled up, it's sticking out more than it was when it was shipped. And you want to do it to 30 PSI on both front and back. Lastly, this is what's going to come in with your bicycle. You make sure you go online and register your bike. All right, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.